Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to have you tonight. We are back here for our third episode of the Connection series. And I'm your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chosen Counselors Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen families and individuals. First, let me say, your love and support has been amazing. I do not take it lightly that I have your attention for this segment. I was intentional in seeking the guests that have been coming on, and from the feedback that I have been receiving, we are doing a good job. Last week we had Kelly Brown of Own Your Pretty, and I have heard you. We will be sure to have her back again. So thank you again for tuning in and supporting. So do me a favor, hit share because it's about to get good. So, staying in the connections vein, tonight we're going to talk about mental health. Okay? So, we're going to relax, we're going to relate, and we are going to release. And we're going to learn the benefits of therapy and in having someone to encourage you to push forward in your dreams. So, please help me welcome therapist Tiff and life coach Joyce Bacon. Sorry, tonight Davin was unable to attend, but they are here and ready to go. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Thank you so much for joining me on tonight. How you doing?
Good.
Doing good.
Good. So who wants to start to tell us about yourselves?
It doesn't matter.
All right. We're
Go
gonna
ahead,
start
Coach Joyce.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. So, my name is Tiffany Harris. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm licensed here in Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and also New Jersey. I have my own private practice. It's called Therapist Tiff LLC, and I provide individual, family, and couples therapy.
Awesome. All right. Life coach Joyce.
Okay, now. All right, so my name is Coach Joyce Bacon. I'm a life and professional development coach here in the city of Philadelphia. I currently work with all types of clients. I'm also serving as a counselor right now, also with the Juvenile Detention Center. So I'm kind of doing both roles. My passion is the life coach and helping people grow and just accomplish their dreams.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, ladies. And I know that therapy and being a life coach are two different things, but they have some similarities. So today I want to talk about how to know which you need, if you need both of them, if you need one of them, and how to get those services. So can you tell me what's the basic differences between being a life coach and a therapist, Joyce?
Okay, so I think the difference between life coach and therapy. As a coach, I don't give you advice unless you give me permission to give you advice.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much there to kind of help unlock the potential that's already there on the inside of you. So you come to me ready. So let's say, for instance, maybe it's a toxic relationship you're ready to get out of, or maybe it's a goal or dream that you've always wanted to accomplish. Maybe you wanted to start a business, or maybe you want to begin traveling, or doing something different, or getting a new job. You come to me ready to make that change, and then I just help unlock already what's there, what's on the inside of you. Or you come to me ready to heal,
Okay.
the issue.
Okay. So you give advice if they want it. Come on, therapist.
I don't give advice if they want it. And I usually ask their permission.
Okay.
Is it okay to give me some advice? But normally, my job is to kind of help challenge what's already there on the inside of the person. So I conduct myself from a rule of just believing that everybody's already resourceful, whole, and just they already equipped with the tools on the inside of them to be able to grow.
Okay.
So that changes the dynamic. You know what I mean? And most times people do have the answers on the inside of them. They're just not paying attention to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tiff, how does that work out as being a therapist?
I think it's very similar to what Coach Joyce is saying, because as therapists, it's not my job to give you advice either. My job is to really be able to help you develop and understand the tools that you have that can get you where you want to go. So if you have a specific goal, if there's a specific issue that we're conquering together, my job is to help strengthen your ability to see what's happening for you, and then help give you some tools to be able to change the things that's going on based on what you already have inside of you.
Awesome. So similar, but a little different. Got it. Okay. So therapist Tiff, why did you go into therapy? What drew you to being a therapist?
It's so funny. People ask me that all the time. And to be honest, I really don't know where it started in terms of how I decided I wanted to be a therapist. What I do know is I can think of a very specific experience that I had that solidified it for me. Before I went to graduate school, I was working in a domestic violence shelter. And while working in that shelter, my job was to really provide the programming for the children and the families. And there were therapists who were also there to provide therapy. A lot of the therapists who worked in the shelter were white, right? And most of the families who were there were people of color. And so one of the things that I noticed was that though those therapists really were helpful, there was a difference in the way that they interacted and responded to me versus the way that they did with those other therapists. And so one of the things that I started to think about was like how powerful that healing would be if it was with someone who looked like them, talked like them, and possibly had some of those same experiences that they had. And so that is what made me say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be the representation for my people.
Awesome. I can say the same thing with my background being therapy. When I first started, I would go out to homes, hearing the other clinicians that maybe weren't African American, hearing their responses when they went out to houses. It was different, and they appreciated when I came because you kind of understand some things in a different way. So you kind of meet them where they are and you go forward with that. Because hey, life is what it is. You know, we can't judge anybody. We're all, you know, a paycheck away from being homeless, or like different things can definitely set us back at any time, but being there to support them. So yes, awesome. So life coach, why did you become a life coach? Life coach.
I'm so nervous around that question, but it is what it is. What gave me the passion to become a life coach is purely based on empathy. So, like, my story is a story of like trials and tribulation and trauma. So, I am a survivor of domestic violence. I was a young mother. I was a single mother of 4 for years. And so, in that, you know, I've been through different traumas as a youth, sexual abuse, things like that. And so, you know, I was able to overcome those things by the grace of God. And so after overcoming those things and going through the different experiences, going through the abuse, going through trauma, going through issues with my finances, going through different situations and being able to overcome and come out of them, I wanted to be able to help people in a way that was not only empathetic because I've gone through those trials and tribulations, but I also wanted to try to reflect to them that your life can change because my life changed. So like, although I went through that process and through those things, I ended up in a different place now where I can see the light of day, where it's not dark anymore. And so I wanted to be able to inspire others that even though you might be going through a traumatic situation right now, that is not the end. You can overcome, you can live an abundant life and what that abundant life looks like for you specifically. And so it was based off of my experiences of being in a dark place and then transitioning out of that dark place into a light place that inspired me to want to be a coach. I wanted people to get help filtered through what was right and not, you know, based on bias and things like that. Because I've had experience, especially as a young mother, with violence. Just going up to seek help and therapy and being automatically or therapy or coaching or being automatically judged because of my situation versus me wanting to see past what I was going through. So like my mission is kind of like to help people see past whatever the current situation is, that there is life after that.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Look, when you go in there with that mission, you have that passion, you know, they can feel that and they see that you're in there not just to get a paycheck, but you're there because you really care about the well-being and their safety and their mindset and their mental capacity and how they survive. So that's awesome.
Yes, it's true.
So what would you say are the signs of someone that needs to possibly engage in therapy? Like, what will be the key red flags that would say maybe I should connect?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's those traditional red flags, right? But
Okay.
one of the things that I really want to stress is that there doesn't have to be something wrong
Yes.
for you to seek therapy, right? It doesn't have to be like this big experience or this big issue that you say, like, you know what, I need to go see somebody. It could literally be you having some struggles and really not figuring it out on your own, and the people that are in your life haven't really been helpful, and the things that you've been doing are not really helping you to get there, right? And so then you can just say, I might need to go see a therapist, right? But then there's, you have to be in a space to be able to receive it, right? So you have to be open. You have to be able to face yourself, face your experiences, and be ready to change. Because if you're not, then me sitting there talking to you about the things that you might need to do to change are not going to go in and be able to be implemented, right?
So true.
And so it's really important that, when you're thinking about therapy, it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm having anxiety symptoms, or I'm having depression symptoms. Those are the traditional reasons, right? Maybe you're having inconsistent moods. Maybe you experienced a traumatic event. Yes, those are things that happen in your life, and maybe you do need to see someone.
Yes.
But there's also those times where you're just transitioning through life. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe you had a breakup. Maybe you had some losses in your life. Maybe you're just ready to go on a new path and you need some help to figure out how to do that. You need some ideas about what do I need to change in my life to be able to get where I want to go, right? And then there's also those things in terms of like family patterns, right? And how we grow up and who we become largely is based on our family history, right? And our family relationships and the way that they see us. And those things create expectations that maybe sometimes you feel like, I'm tired of living in my family expectations. I'm tired of being the person who's under, so much scrutiny, and you don't know how to change that. You don't know how to live your own life. And so there's one of those spaces where you do that.
Very true. Very true. I love it. Because it's like, you take your car to get it checked out. Not all the time because something is wrong, but you want to make sure nothing's wrong. It's like if you're going on a long road trip, let me go make sure them brakes are right, them lights are right, because we don't want no problems when we get 2 hours down the road, So that's the same with therapy. It's like that checkup. I love it. How about a life coach? What would be the pieces to know that maybe I need a life coach?
So I guess if you're ready. So oftentimes people say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, or this needs to change in my life. I've been thinking about it a long time, or I've always wanted to start this business or go out on this venture, but I'm doing all these other things, but it just keeps coming up on the inside of me. And now this is my year to do it. And so if you feel like you're ready to just start moving forward, then you need to coach, because a lot of us are procrastinators. Even me, I dip and dabble in procrastination sometimes. And sometimes you just need the extra support to get it go done. So when you think about a coach, you think about somebody like a track coach or a football coach. Oftentimes, people have a love-hate relationship with their coach. And I remember the time when I ran track and I had a track coach, and it would be the days that I didn't feel like practicing, or the days that I didn't feel like running, or that she would push me the hardest. Maybe I had a ache in my side, or maybe my knee was hurting, and I would be sitting down, and she'll say, "Get up and walk it out anyway." And so, oftentimes, someone that needs a coach is someone that's ready to just be pushed to the next level, but in a gentle way, with helping them just get to the next goal. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Look, that's it. You're not going to always like your coach. You're not going to always like your therapist either.
You're not going to always like your therapist. I tell my clients all the time, some days you're going to leave here and you're going to love me, and some days you're going to be like, I can't stand her. And that's okay. That's okay, because if you like me every time, I'm not doing my job.
Yes. I had one family, every time I would go, she would cuss me out. I mean, cuss me out. And then she would calm down and she would get herself together. She said, you keep coming and I cuss you out every time. I said, hey, I'd rather you take it out on me or somebody else. What else you got? And sometimes, you have to have those moments where you got to get it out. There's so much going on. And that's the benefit of having that person to be able to talk to, whether that life coach, whether that therapist, to be able to help you to navigate through the things, because life is overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes it's good for us to be able to empathize, But what happens after we
Yes.
empathize?
Yes.
Right.
What's next?
Yes.
You know, okay, so we acknowledge the trauma, or we acknowledge that maybe you're depressed,
Right.
and or things like that. So how about we give it a time limit? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, how long are you going to stay in this state? And okay, let's give it an end date, and then let's operate.
Indeed.
Let's start operating from the end date. What does the
Yes.
end look like? What
Yes.
does the end of being depressed look like for you? And so let's operate in that space
Yes.
and see what can happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that with the end date because therapy or being a life coach, the discharge phase or that termination begins still at that first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hope is that you don't need me forever.
Right.
The hope is that you get all the tools that you need to be able to go forward. Maybe help somebody else with some of the things you learned,
Right.
and that's a challenge, because then you get so used to that. Having that person like, wait a minute, where you going? No, you got to be accountable. They want to always call, and as Keisha said, it's hard to set an end date. So, what is the process to help somebody that is has reached their goals, has made drastic improvements, or has come to a place where they're good and may not need your services as often? How do you do that with their discharge?
So I usually talk to clients once I'm at a place where I'm noticing that, you've achieved some of your goals, you've been successful in being able to implement the things that we've talked about, and you feel good, right? We have that conversation. I'm noticing that there's a big change in you. I'm noticing that the things that you came in here for originally are not the same things that are going on for you anymore. You really made some progress. This is how I know, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a conversation. Maybe I'm seeing you weekly at that point. Okay, maybe we need to go to bi-weekly or once a month. And then I might see you for those, once a month for a while. And then we have a conversation again. Where do you think you're at with this? But a lot of times I try to give that responsibility to my clients for them to be able to be empowered to say,
Yes.
I am good. I don't need this anymore. And if I need you again in the future, I'll call you, Tiff.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Being able to also recognize the progress that they've made and be able to say, you know what, you're right, I'm good. I'm good.
Yes.
And I can do this. And I'll see you later. Thank you. I love it.
Yes, Crystal said how to identify depression is important. And that is important because once you're coming to therapy and if you are separating because, hey, you're doing good, you're great. But if you realize that those issues that first brought you to see me are coming back, by all means, give us a call, so that we can help you to stay on the right track and not get thrown off.
Right. Absolutely.
I love it. How about you, Joyce? How does it work when you are trying to let them go on their way and be that butterfly and fly?
All right, so I try to be very careful. I think it's like counseling therapist said, just being able to acknowledge their growth and where they've come from, checking in with them to see where they are now, because sometimes you can become a crutch too. You don't want to become a crutch because a crutch causes you trying to feel handicapped a little bit still. When you're ready to fly, it kind of reminded of parenting with that too. But like it makes you you don't want to become a crutch. So sometimes it's like, hey, I think you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I think you're ready, woman. How do you feel about being ready? But like therapist said, you can always call me back if you need me. I'm right here. You can always call me to come back if you need me. But because you made X, Y, and Z progress, I think it's time and I think you're ready. And that's a lot of times with integrity too, because there is a system out there that would love to keep you coming back. You know what I mean? For the wrong reason. And the person would have been able to fly if you had to just let them go. And so we have to be very carefully to use our integrity in that space.
I think it's also important too to normalize that there are times when what you came in for, you're doing better with, but then there's other things that happen in your life or other things that are coming up for you that still require some additional support, still require some additional work. And I think it's important to normalize that because I think sometimes people get caught up on like, well, I made this progress, but then why am I still struggling here, right? And I think we don't want our clients to get discouraged. We don't want them to get to a place where they feel like, well, there's always going to be something. No, not necessarily, but let's work these things out so that eventually the things that come up, you're able to deal with on your own. You can manage them on your own. You have the tools and the skills to be able to help yourself.
Yes. And that was one of my questions for you, Tiff. So I'm gonna bring that one up early now, and I'm gonna exit now because sometimes I could be coming to therapy, but the people I'm coming to therapy for are not changing. How can I help them?
So this is the thing. If you want to therapy for other people, that's the problem, right? Because the thing about it is you're never going to be able to change other people. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, how am I contributing to this? What are the things that I'm doing that are keeping me in this cycle, this pattern, this relationship? And those are the things that we need to work on in therapy. How do you create boundaries? How do you know what you need from people? How do you ask for what you need from people? Those are all the things that you need to do in order to be able to change the relationships that are causing you distress.
Yes. So good. So good. So we have some comments and questions from some of those that are listening. And one person is asking Michelle, she's saying, once triggers are recognized, how do you hold the client accountable to the coping skills discussed?
That's deep. So, I mean, for me, I just say it, right? I'm a pretty direct therapist, and I'm going to talk to you like I would want somebody to talk to me, right? And so we're not going to sugarcoat it, and we're not going to play around. And I'm going to be able to say to you, you know what? We talked about this last time, right? We talked about these things. These are the barriers. These are the things that are coming up for you. And these are the tools that we talked about you being able to use, right? And if you come into session and you say, this situation happened again, I did this thing, which is the same as your normal pattern, I'm going to say, what happened? Right. Where did we miss the things that we talked about last time in terms of what you can implement to change this pattern? What are the barriers? What are the fears? What were you thinking? What were you feeling in those moments that stopped you from being able to do the things that we talked about you being able to do?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think sometimes they forget, yes, you're paying for that service, but we're also giving you your money's worth and make sure that you're getting the full potential. So if you're coming in with whatever that issue is, you're saying that these are the coping skills, why aren't you using them?
Right.
And you also can't play game, because we remember, if in the first week you said the sky was blue, and then 25 weeks later you say it's green, I'm like, but wait a minute, I remember. You know, because you also remember to put the pieces together as you're helping them put these stories together to help them.
Absolutely.
That's good. So we got another question. Crystal is saying, I suffer from survivor's remorse and I don't know how to deal with it. Who wants that one?
I'm going to let Coach Joyce go with that one.
Oh, goodness. Survivor's remorse. I guess what they're saying about survivor's remorse is that they survived the situation, but that's kind of like, when I see survivor's remorse, I'm thinking that it's become kind of their identity. Is that what they're saying? That they struggle with being able to let it go? So when you think of, that's a good one. When you think of being a survivor, when I started saying, because I wrote a book called like I Survived, and what I did was, you have to give it, like we talked about that end thing earlier. When you survive something, sometimes you don't identify. Like, for instance, when I said I'm a survivor of domestic violence, okay, I survived domestic violence, period. And a lot of times, also, once you experience something like domestic violence, in the world that we live in, as a survivor, it becomes kind of like your identity moving forward. Oh, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. No, you survived domestic violence, period. Now there's a new beginning. Now who are you? Because that's not your identity. That's something that you went through. And so that ending thing, kind of giving it closure. Hey, I went through this. Now it's over. Here I am now, okay, with my right mind, in spite of going through that. Now who am I?
Yeah.
Now what does my life look like outside of that? You know?
Okay, so Crystal added some more to that. She said, I'm a cancer survivor, and if someone passes, I can't get past it. So that's how she's dealing with the survivor's remorse.
Okay.
And that's that's a real thing, you know. It could be that you were walking down the street and almost hit you, and it hit the next person, and you're having that remorse because you're like, maybe I should have, that could have been me, and just the feelings with that. But I like to turn it around to say, yes, as Justin says, the power of positive thinking, that caused me to live so that I could live to tell somebody else, so I can encourage somebody else. It wasn't my time to go yet. And sometimes, we go through different experiences to be able to encourage somebody else. And so I know her story and things of that sort, and like through her whole experience, she still was, coming to church. She still was praising God. She still was like trusting God and holding to that belief. And from that was an encouragement to somebody else that maybe wasn't even going through cancer. So sometimes we go through some things to help strengthen us. So as you said, a domestic violence survivor. I'm a survivor. I survived that thing. I didn't go out because I got to the place where I was able to get out and be free. It was a time that I was homeless. I was homeless, but I got out. I now have a home. That wasn't how my story was supposed to end. So we have to be able to encourage ourselves that, yes, that didn't take me out. I got a little longer. Who else can I help? Who else can I be a blessing to? So that doesn't hold me down. And if you find that in that moment you're still going through, then that may be a time that you want to talk to a therapist too, to say, look, I'm doing it out. I need somebody to help me bring it up. It might be a life coach. Look, help me stay busy so that I can keep doing things that I'm still here to be doing. Because again, if you're not going, there's still a reason for you to still be here.
Right. Absolutely.
Sorry, she went on her little tangent, but that's what I meant from my heart. It's the reason that you're still here. Your testimony.
That's right.
So many more people. Don't give up. I love you. I love you. I love you. And when people get in those moments, get emotional a little bit, because when people get in those moments, that's when you really want to love on them. And last week we talked about friendships. If somebody's having some moments like that, how can I help you? And being a therapist, you're helping your clients, but sometimes you're helping those people that are right around you. And today, this is our therapy session for everybody that's watching. You're still here for a reason. You're still here for a reason. So relax, relate, understand it, and release it, because you're still here for a reason.
Yeah.
All right. Woo. I'm gonna take a collection. I tease. So I want to go back to the therapy piece for a second. Is it expensive? Is having a life coach expensive?
So I think just like everything else, right? You prioritize and budget, right? So if you want a new pair of shoes, you want that new bag, you prioritize and you budget your money for that, right? And so that's the same thing with therapy. That's something that you want, and you have to figure out how to get it. But there's a lot of ways to be able to get it, right? So you can use your insurance. If you have insurance, you can call your insurance provider. You can say, hey, I want to go to therapy. What's covered? What's my copay? What's in my network? Can you send me a list of therapists that are in my network? And you can call those people who are in your network, right? But there's also, there's people who do private practice who have sliding fee scales. There's people who there's some of those online therapy things like BetterHealth and Open Path, where you can see a therapist, a licensed therapist, for something much less than maybe you would see somebody in a private practice. So there's lots of different ways to be able to get therapy at a cost that works in your budget.
Okay. How about for a life coach?
I believe for a life coach, you pay for results. You pay for what it is that you want. Oftentimes, so here's the business part of it. So it's a little bit different. The business side is just coming out. You can't undercharge. You have to charge according to maybe the outcome or the goal that the person is trying to reach, because they appreciate that. You know what I mean? Definitely offer a higher help. Even with us, we pay for things that we really want. You know what I mean? We show up with whatever it is, it's worth it. We feel like we sometimes, often depending on the background that we come from, we feel like we got a really cheap deal, and we might not show up on time. We might think it's right. If
You're
the
right.
goal that we're really trying to reach, then we're going to put our all into it. We're going to show up ready, and we're going to challenge that therapist to coach. They're going to be ready too. So when it comes to pricing, it can vary depending on outcomes.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about Planet Fitness, and you was like, you can't undercharge, and it was like $10 a month. I was like, hey, it's nothing. I don't gotta go. But after a while, that $10 adds up, and I hope you get that full benefit. And I got some things coming up for next month. I'll tell you about that later. But you want to be able to get your money's worth. And whatever you're spending, you want it to bring something back to you. So if you're investing in you, that's most amazing. We buy so many different things that's not really helping us to be a better, me and you, was just helping us to look good on the outside. Right. But what about that inside? therapy and that life coach will help you with that. And I also wanted to share that a lot of companies that you may work for offer an employee assistance program, and that offers crisis services and mental health services. And if you think that you don't need this service, keep on living, baby, because you'll be surprised how a simple check-in can help you get everything right in order.
Yeah.
Okay. We got
really
another
good because even in what you were saying about the employee assistance programs, a lot of employers also have like wellness programs where they give you credit or something like that for being able to be involved in certain wellness activities. And so those are things that you can look at too.
Yes. So we have another question. Justin is saying, what qualities should someone look for in a therapist or a coach? Like, is it just because you went to school and you licensed that I should say, yes, that's the one for me? Or what should I really be looking into?
I think it's different.
I think the thing about it is not every therapist is for everybody, right? So you, just as much as, it's important for us when we do a consultation to be able to understand what you're coming in for, what you're struggling with, what's happening for you. It is important for you as the client to interview your therapist. It is important for you to say, what are the things that are important to you when it comes to therapy? What does your therapy session look like? What can I expect from you as a therapist? It's important for you to be able to ask for a phone consultation ahead of time, to be able to get a feel from your therapist to see, do you mesh well? Do we have some connectivity? Are we able to have some conversation? And am I able to be vulnerable with you? Right? Am I able to trust you? And so it's important for clients to ask those questions. It's important for you to say, and to be able to say, I was in therapy before. My therapist did X, Y, and Z, which really helped me. Or also, I was in therapy before, and these are the things my therapist did that did not serve me well. And let your therapist say whether they can do those things or not.
Yes. And that's good. Come on, Joyce. How does someone?
I totally agree. I was going to say I totally agree with that. It's a two-way interview. So the client is interviewing you to see if you're a good fit, and you're interviewing them to see if they're a good fit. You might want to mention that, hey, in this case, I may challenge you in this way, or I do exercises in this fashion, or hey, this is my story, and this is why I do the work that I'm doing, and see if they're in agreement with that. And if they're not, being okay with saying, well, hey, no, I don't think I'm the coach for you, or I'm the therapist for you. And that being okay. And seeing if you be able to work well, to be able to flow. Like setting a mutual agreement in the beginning is very important.
Yes.
And I think too, even while you're working together, if there are things that come up or things that happen throughout that relationship, it is okay for you to say to your therapist, I didn't like how you said that. I didn't like, or it didn't feel good to me when you had this conversation, or I'm not ready to go there, and you're pushing me a little too hard. It's important for you to be able to advocate for yourself in that moment, so that your therapist understands, okay, let's have some conversation about that. Is it that you're fearful to go there, or is it that you just don't want to? Because if you just don't want to, we're gonna have some more conversation.
That was one of my questions too, of like, to be able to ask and to help others with how do you choose a therapist, because if you don't mesh with a therapist, that's totally cool. It's gonna happen. They may be with somebody, they may be a trigger, or just me, you don't like their voice, you don't like where they are, but don't let the reason be that because you don't like them because they're tapping into something that you're not ready to deal with. Because if you go to somebody else, it's going to happen again. And they got time for you to be going to 50, 11 million therapists, because eventually somebody's going to say, wait, you said you talked to who? Oh, so this is a pattern. So now let's talk about that. And that's the benefit of getting to the root of some issues. We can see the plants, flowers, and see that something's going on, but what's the root issue? That's good. That's good. Another question is, can you ask a therapist if they're a Christian?
Absolutely. That's part of that interview process, right? And this is the thing, even if they aren't, that doesn't mean that they can't meet you where you need to be met, right? Because it could also be that your therapist understands that your spirituality is really important to you. And we'll be able to, even if we're not the same on the same spiritual lane as you, we can still help you to be able to use that to get to where you want to be.
Yes.
So yes, ask your therapist those things if that's what's important to you.
And a life coach, I can ask you too. Joyce, so you're a Christian?
Yes, definitely.
so because again, there is a difference sometimes, because if you have different beliefs, then you may not believe the same thing I'm believing. But the hope is that if you have such a good relationship with that therapist or that life coach, and you feel like, hey, they still can help me, they'll educate themselves or learn from you how to best serve you. You know, I love the part of the interview too. You know, I went to the doctor today. They canceled me 11 times because of COVID, but I went there today. And when I was talking to her, I was reminded of the first time I went to her, because I called the offices before I went there. I wanted to know how her bedside manner was. When I went there, I was talking to those in the waiting room. Is she nice? Is she good? You know, things that sort. Because if I'm trusting her with my life, if I'm coming to you saying I'm sick, I want you to go to bed for me like I'm your mother, like I'm your brother, I'm your father. And that's the same with that therapist. That's the same if I get somebody to work on my car. Look, you play games with me. And we've been to enough people to know who's playing games with us and who's not playing games with us. So again, that's that part of interviewing to find out who's the best fit for me.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, he said I always speak about God with my therapist. Yes, because again, that's part of who you are. So if that's who you are, you want to share that. You know, I might be confused about some couple things, like why God didn't answer some of my prayers. And the therapist will be like, you know, what are some things you need to be working on? I'm like, well, you know, I just want to know why he didn't answer my prayers. So again, we're trying to find out what the balance is. And it's I chose Relax, Relate, Release because a different world. I am a diehard fan. And Whitney had finally gone to therapy.
Yes.
Not finally going, but she went to therapy because she was having some trouble with dealing with her ex getting married to somebody. And you know, she was told to relax, relate, release because she was going above everywhere and everywhere to kind of figure out what was going on, but telling the therapist that it was up to the therapist to find out what my problem was. Yeah. So when she said that, I said, wait a minute, is it really the therapist's job to find out what my problem is? Let's talk about that. Whose job is it? I mean, I'm grateful that you came to therapy, but it's not just my job. I can do it all alone.
Right.
So how does that work?
I mean, it's definitely it is your job. My job is to really help you to be able to uncover some of the things that are going on for you that have you stuck in that space. Yeah. Right. And so it's not my job to tell you this is what's going on with you, or this is the problem, or this is what you need to do. I want to help you be able to come to those conclusions on your own with the help of the things that we do in our therapy session, with the help of the understanding of how your experiences have impacted where you're at today, with the help of understanding the behaviors that you're continuing to put out there that are contributing to you being in that same space.
Yeah, I agree. We have to unpack, but take ownership too, and be accountable. So, you know, be accountable for my role, be accountable to be able to acknowledge what else other things happen, and just be able to make, because it's really about the work that you're doing, and be able to, you know, take ownership of some of the things that are doing that, you know.
Let's talk about that ownership, because I could say, you know, it's because my mom did, my dad wasn't there, that this and this and this happened. And sometimes we don't realize the choices that we still make in those moments. And that's a hard place to be. Yes, he wasn't there, but you know, who else stepped in to support you? You know, who else was there to help you? So again, refocusing ourselves sometimes, dealing with that issue, but not allowing that to hold us back. So again, relaxing it because we too tight on it. Relating to it, yes, it hurts, but then we gotta release it. Because if not, we can't move. You know, we got to be able to be free. So it's part of it.
Part of it. Taking ownership, unpacking, being able to look at it and see it in perspective. Okay, this is my stuff. Okay, that stuff isn't mine. And being able give it back to folks their stuff, but taking ownership of it to being able to work it out so that you can be free and can be able to move forward.
Yes. So when I seek a therapist or seek a life coach, should I have goals in mind already? Should I like be like, this is what I want to work on? Or is it okay if I don't know what I want to work on, but I know I need some direction, some support, some assistance?
Yeah. It's helpful if you have some goals already in mind, right? So if you come into therapy, and I always ask, what are the things that brought you to the place where you feel like you want to see therapy? What's happening for you that's bringing you here? What would be your goals for your therapy? What do you want to see change, right? And so sometimes people know and sometimes they don't. But sometimes, most of the time, people know what they don't want to continue to do, right? They know this is what's going on for me and I don't want to continue this. Or this is what's going on for me and I want to change it. Yeah. But they may not know how, right? And so my job is to really help you figure out, how do we do that? How do we change those things? How do we help you process it so it doesn't feel the same, so that it doesn't continue to plague you in the way that it is now, right? And so, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes exercises, depending on the exercises, like if they come and they don't know, if it's a life purpose exercise, depending on the exercises, you can kind of keen in on what it is, or that person through talking or through prompting through the exercise will be like, oh, this is really why I'm here,
Yes.
Years ago, when I went to therapy, I thought I was going for one thing, but then it ends up being something totally different. It ends up being the root of the whole situation, that I was there for. So sometimes I think it's okay not to know. But if there's an inkling in you that you need some assistance, then you're on the path. You're on the right path.
So somebody says, what happens when you really don't know?
Then we use the time to figure it out. Right? So you come in and you say, I'm not really sure why I wanted to be in therapy, but I know that I need some support. So we talk about the things that are going on in your life, the things that you've experienced, the places that you are in your life right now, and talk about what your future looks like. What do you want for yourself going forward? How does that look? Right? And then we talk about how the things that are happening now or that have happened in the past contribute to where you're at today, and how to move you forward. What are the things that we can do to help move you forward? And so it's okay if you don't know, but you need some support. You need somebody else to have kind of an objective lens in terms of what is going on for you, right? Sometimes we don't know that there are things that we're doing, patterns that we have adopted that contribute to where we're at. Sometimes you just don't know. You're just doing the same thing because that's what you're used to. And in therapy, part of what's going to happen is that I'm going to point out to you some of the things that you're doing that continue to keep you from getting what you want. Right? And help you figure out, how do we move forward with it? How do we intervene to change some of these patterns so that it's not the same thing over and over again? You have the opportunity to actually be where you want to be.
Very good. Very good. So someone has asked a question as well. It's hard to find Christian therapists in Philadelphia. What support or feedback would you give this person in trying to find a Christian therapist?
I mean, I would say check with your church. You have a church home, reach out to your church members, reach out to your pastor. But also when you're calling around or when you're looking at people's websites or when you're reaching out to people, being cognizant of what they list in, what's the importance or what framework they work from, right? But you can always just ask. You can call a therapist and say, hey, I'm looking for a Christian therapist. Is that you?
You got it. So those that are watching or sharing and things of that sort, if you are a Christian therapist, be sure to send me your information and I'll be sure to share that with those that are looking for a Christian therapist, because again, your services are needed just as much as anybody else's, and somebody's asking for you. So if you're not currently in it, get in it, because your services are needed. Someone said about talking about things we don't share with our family. That's a big piece. Because sometimes you can go to therapy and find out that you're a totally different person than what your family know, because there's so much that you've been holding in. So many things that's been hurting you. So many things that's been causing you to feel like you're a little cray-cray. It's just, you got to let it go. Again, you got to release some stuff. Because again, we can't handle everything that's going on. Prime example, we're in this quarantine and we've been stuck in the house. People are tired of being stuck in the house. And you're hearing some reports of some things that are happening as a result of people being stuck in the house. Now, sadly, some things have already most things were already going on prior to this, but now it heightened a little bit. So again, these are some things we need to talk about with somebody. I said some of these people need some therapy. They tired of seeing each other. They need to go back to work because you get so used to being out the house that when you're stuck in the house, if you're not doing some things to help grow your household or grow yourself, you are a candidate for life coach services or therapy services. So again, get their information. Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. I know at least 4 Christian therapists in the tri-state area. I will forward the info. So I'll make sure you get that. Everybody, I'll post that so that everybody can get that. And again, your therapist does not have to live where you are. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they shared that their therapist lived in another state. Why? Because they didn't want somebody that was from their area that knew them.
Yeah.
And if they help you feel comfortable, by all means, get somebody outside of your area because there's still the confidentiality that should be happening. Right. And if that's not happening, I do apologize because that is HIPAA is number one. You know, we're not here to be telling your business. We're here to be helping you, support you, get through those things that you're going through. So again, we'll be sure to forward that information. And again, whether they're here in your area, not in your area, we'll help you get the support that you need.
And one thing to remember about if they're not in your area, though, please make sure they're licensed in your area. Because if something occurs, if something happens, you don't have any recourse if they're not licensed in your area. So let's be clear about that. Make sure that I'm licensed in other states as well, but I'm licensed there. So I only see people in states that I'm licensed in.
Got it. Okay, so we got a Dr. Karen Stallins. She is a therapist in the area, as well as a Nikki Trailer. And if it's not them, they're going to forward us the people that are. So thank you so much for that, Tracy. So cool. All right. Any other questions from my listeners? Let me see what question I didn't get to ask. Oh, I have a question. If I'm talking to a counselor or a life coach and I tap into an area that they are not familiar with, how do I handle it? Because if I step on something like we've been working this long time and we've been doing great, and then I hit something you're not comfortable with because maybe you have experience with it that's something that you may not touch because that's possible too. How do we handle those situations?
Yeah, I think that you should be able to. You have enough confidence to be able to refer out or gain resources for that client. Gain resources. If you don't have the knowledge, say, I don't have the knowledge in that area. Right. I'm so sorry. But be able to pull in the resources or refer them to be able to refer them to someone that can help them. And so that's along the lines of that integrity. You know what I mean? With not being so worried about definitely holding on to that client, but being able to refer them out because it is about helping others to give them the resources that they need.
Right.
Just being transparent in that moment to say, hey, I'm not quite sure or I'm not familiar in that area, but I can gain some resources for you.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's good. Yeah. So another question, I don't know if it's my last one, just pre-warning. What do you love most about being a life coach and what do you love most about being a therapist?
Okay. So I guess I'll go. Okay. What I love most about being a life coach, when you think of life coach, you think of for me, it's about living an abundant life and being able to tap into that, even though you may have trials and tribulations come about. So I love living it out, actually walking out the dream, being the example to be able to say, hey, life doesn't have to be this way. Although it was traumatic, although it was hurtful, although there was disappointment, there's a way of being able to unpack that stuff and gain the tools and skills that you need to be able to deal with whatever's coming next. And so just being able to live that out and living the grace of that space is just awesome. It's just awesome. Being the example and letting your own personal life shine. To be able to ask, hey, what is it? What is it about? Hey, it wasn't always this way. It was traumatic. So being able to share the testimony of overcoming and then just embracing something new and starting new.
Awesome.
I really love so many things about being a therapist. I really love watching people really learn about themselves and really learn about how they came to be who they are, and really be able to celebrate the things that are great about them, right? I love being able to help people see their strength, right? And see that really could serve them as they continue to move forward. Of course, I love to see when my clients accomplish their goals. I love to see when I'm watching people heal in front of me, right? I love watching people be able to say, wow, that felt so good. I left here and I felt really good. Or I left here and I really was thinking about what we talked about. And I was thinking about how those things really resonate with me, right? I really just love watching people learn about themselves and grow.
Yes. You know, I always I remember I was doing outpatient therapy, and it was family based, and I went to a family's home, and when I knocked on the door or got there, the mother said, "Thank you so much." She said they sent so many other people who said they were coming, but they never came. And this was a family that was seeking therapy services for some time. And I was that person to not be afraid to go to their home to offer them that support. And from that moment on, I said, people need you. You know, you're not doing it in vain. There's some people that really want therapy. And there's some people that just come because it's court ordered or it's mandated and things of that sort. But there are some people who really want to see a change. They really want to have a difference in their lives. And being able to see the progression in that family's lives and some other families' lives that I've worked with, it's been amazing. Just to see those benefits and know that, hey, you're making a difference. You don't see it all the time, maybe, but those times that you do see it, and sometimes you see it, but it's small. But even in that smallness, it's still amazing to see.
Yeah. I also love too when my clients come in and they refer to me as like someone who's important in their life, right? Because I think that the relationship in therapy is the most important thing. If you don't see me as somebody you can trust, if you don't see me as somebody who can be helpful, if you don't see me as someone who you can be open and honest with, then the therapy that you receive from me is not going to be to the furthest extent that it could be. And so it's really important to me. I love when my clients feel good about the relationship that we have. And also it allows me to be able to challenge them sometimes in some ways that maybe I couldn't have if we didn't have that relationship.
Very good. We have another question from a listener. As therapists, do you all attend therapy?
I don't think all therapists attend therapy, but there definitely are some who do. And I think, you know, to be honest, I don't know if you could necessarily do therapy as accurately or as helpful if you've never been yourself. That, you know, we have to buy into what we do, right? Absolutely. And so if you don't buy into the process, then how are you able to get people to buy into what you have to offer?
Joyce, have you had a life coach yourself?
Yes, I have had a life coach. I currently have a life coach, but I have also had therapy in the past. Okay. So I'm definitely a believer in therapy, because sometimes, even if you think you're okay, sometimes you still need someone to talk to. And there's still something that you may need to work out that you can't quite identify. So I really like to focus on having a clean filter when dealing with, you know, with someone else's life or their goals. And so I wanted to come from a clean place, you know, filtered, still spiritually filtered. And so just being able to, you know, work with them from a good place myself. So yes, I have had therapy in the past just to be able to heal and overcome and put some things into perspective for myself so that I can be Coach Joyce. But also I do have a coach that also challenges me to get some of the things I need done.
And as therapists too, I think, you know, we hear we hear so many different things all day long, right? Like you're working with so many different people who have so many different experiences, who have a lot of different hurts and pains, and we have to hold that sacred space for them, right? And so sometimes the therapist gets depleted, and so we need to have a place where we can go to be able to get finished, right? To be able to understand what it is that's going on for us, and is it about us or is it about the work that we do? So I think that's very important as well.
I will also share that I will also share that therapists also get supervision. And
Yes.
it's so important because, again, you can take so much in that you have to have somebody else to talk to process, because you might get stuck as well. And you have that support of a supervisor to help you through that. I also say when I was in school, I felt like some of my classes were so therapeutic. We'd be in a circle for a group and we're in there bawling. I mean, bawling, because it's hitting some things. Because again, it's putting you in a place where you're about to put these people. And when you get to that point where you're crying in class and you're trying to get yourself together, you understand when you meet that family when there's some things that maybe they didn't want to talk about. So you have to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic as you're working them through their problems that they have. I also have some friends. We meet together very often to do group sessions with each other, to vent and fuss about how our family think we're their therapist sometimes, and how sometimes the therapist needs therapy too. So we do those things to kind of unwind those cheese, and they have the wine and the water and the grapes and things. And we really like hashing out the different things that are going on, because again, therapists need support too. As in any field, you need some support too as you're supporting somebody else. A doctor eventually still needs a doctor, you know? So we have another question. How do you de-stress to release your client's problems from you? Do you have a self-care plan? Absolutely. Who wants to Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I definitely have a self-care plan. I try to take a vacation every 3 months because that is the way that I take care of myself. But also, I try to set really good boundaries, right? And I try to make sure that I am not working all the time, and that I really do have my days where I don't see any clients, right? It's important for you to have a space to kind of like decompress and think about you, and not have to think about how to help your clients or how to work with your own family, how to your friends. It's important for you to have that day. And so absolutely a self-care plan. You definitely have to take care of yourself, because if you're not good, you can't be good for your clients. If I'm struggling, I can't be the sacred space that my clients need.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, I travel quite often. I travel a lot. I exercise. I do the same. If I get advice about positive affirmations, I'm taking it in myself. I gotta have the self-care plan because I don't want to give anybody myself.
And I find myself sometimes therapizing myself. I made that word up if it's not a word. Because you gotta also process some things for yourself to know how far you're going and how to pull yourself in. When I first finished school, I was doing therapy 6 days a week. That was too much. Too much. I couldn't do it. It was too much taking in other people's stuff. I had to have release, and one day wasn't enough. I know Jesus rested on the seventh day, but Jennifer needed some more because there was a lot going on. His capacity is bigger than mine. You know? So I had to take that pause and just went back to the 5 days, because again, you have to have that balance, because it can overwhelm you. You know, you're taking on some burdens from some people. You're trying to help lighten their load. You know, it's like a trash collector. You're taking all that junk, you know, and you're helping them to recycle it to get the best pieces of it. But then you still have to discard that trash as well as you're helping them release. You got to release it because you can't take that home. I also don't watch the news. I see it too much, you know, with working families. So again, those boundaries, knowing those boundaries.
Yeah, that's good.
We got another question. Now, I can't keep these ladies all night. I mean, I can talk a little longer, but I can't keep them. I'm teasing. Here we go. It says, what do you do to not internalize issues you are taking on? As said, they got to be balanced.
Yeah, I think going into the sessions too, it's really not about us per se. It's really about the client. So even though I may be able to empathize with you, so if you come to me and you say you're going through domestic violence, I can put myself in your shoes because I've experienced that. It's not about my experience. So I think that coaching and therapy is a kind of a selfless work. Like we have to be from a perspective that it's really not about us. It's really not about what we did to overcome or what we didn't do. It's really solely about that client and what the needs are in that moment. So to not internalize it and carry it, but to like hope the best for that individual, for what they specifically need, you know? I've done that. I've made the mistake, especially early on as a coach. I internalized because you know you come out, you're passionate about what you do. So you take it on. You want to be Wonder Woman. You want to rescue. You know,
Yes.
situations where they need rescue and you want to rescue.
Mhm.
Where you see that they need healing, you want to heal them right away.
Yes.
But it's a process. You know,
Yes.
so just being able to discern or be able to see that it's a process and it's really not about us and you know and the work that we're doing, but
Right.
really about helping that person, you know,
Yes.
overcome. It's really, you know, it's something
Yes.
else. Yeah.
Now we'll say you're getting inside our minds a little bit, but please know these are years in experience. So
Yeah.
that's not anymore. And we've learned the ways to best handle ourselves to be present and available to those that we are serving. Because it gets to be a lot what you do, you know, being a teacher, being a lawyer, a doctor, a principal, a social worker. You know, it gets to be a lot, but you had to find what best works for you. And then it changes because what worked last week might not be good this week to help me de-stress and get myself together.
Right.
So I said, sounds like we need a part 2. I'm hearing you. I hear you. I hear you. Yes, part 2. I hear you. I hear you. Again, I'm only doing this to bring resources and things to the community, right to your door, right here in the comfort of your home. So I definitely will be sure to bring them back. Do y'all have any closing thoughts that you want to help us wrap up with?
I think I'll just say as a closing thought that remember that therapy doesn't have to be because something is wrong, and understand that the thing that's the most important about therapy is the relationship with your therapist. And so be an advocate for yourself, ask for what you need, and be able to be open and honest and vulnerable in those spaces to be able to get what you want.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah. And I would just say to, you know, oftentimes because of the different things in life that we experience, sometimes it's hard for us to grasp that we're worth it. Like you deserve the therapy, or you deserve to have that coach and that extra support. We often lead our lives in a space where we think that we have to do it all by ourselves. But no, it's about community, and it's about having programs like this where you can see that you have support and genuinely people that genuinely do care and genuinely want to help. So sometimes if we've been in a circle of toxicness or trauma, we don't think that there's people that want to help in our community. But just being able to know, in spite of what you've gone through or in spite of any mistakes that you might have made, that you're definitely worth it.
Right.
Awesome. Yes. So, thank you so very much.
Thank
As
you.
you've heard from the people, they want you to come back.
I'll be ready.
All right, Joyce.
Yep, I'm here.
All right. See, I gotta do it while they live, so that I have this recorded. Okay. Yes, this was great. Honored to be in the room with such greatness. Awesome. So don't leave yet, people. I have some more great things coming for you. Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you so much, Tiff. Yeah. I am so excited. This was amazing. So later, I gotta tell some things to the people so they can keep on coming back. And I will be sure to have Coach Joyce and Therapist Tiff back. Thank you, ladies. Talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Yo, wasn't that amazing? Yo, it just keeps getting better. So guess what? I need you to come back. Next Monday, August 3rd at 8 p.m., we will close out the Connection series with Family Matters. My cousin Darren West will join me as we pay tribute to my mama, the late Ada Harris, and my great aunt, the late Musa West, and talk about family and how that connection is so important. So isn't that amazing? Oh, it's going to be fun. So please come back. Thank you again so much for joining me. I love you all. But guess what? Next week will not be the end. Watch this clip, and I'll be right. Where's that? I'll be right back. Watch it. Hey, it's your girl Jen Gears, and I want to invite you to our finance series. Join us on Mondays beginning Monday, August 10th through Monday, August 31st at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We will kick off on Monday, August 10th with Camille Corbin, the Coin Counter, as we will stretch those bills. Then join us on Monday, August 17th with Raisha Wright, a life insurance agent, to find out, are you sure you're insured? Then join us on Monday, August 24th with HR manager Crystal Rose to talk about getting your money's worth. We will close out on Monday, August 31st with Erica Wilson, a licensed funeral director, to talk about the final viewing. You do not want to miss this finance series. We hope to see you at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So, we are not done. Next week, we're closing out our connection series, but we will be back with a finance series to talk about budgeting, life insurance, getting all the benefits you can from your job, and the final viewing, preparing for that final viewing. All right, I got a couple more announcements for you. Here we go. Let's start with this one. Do you have a topic idea, or do you want to be a guest? We want to hear from you. Be sure to email me at chosencounselorsinc@gmail.com, or you can send me a message right here on Facebook. I'll be sure to connect with the resource and to find somebody to help us talk about that topic. One more thing, I have something else coming up this Thursday. Be sure to join me. I will be the guest with Dr. Kia Everett for Destiny Moments with Dr. K. And I'm going to be talking about the challenges with seeking help. This Thursday at 5 p.m. It will be premiered on on her platform, but I'll be sure to share that live as well so that you can hear what I got to say about some more with the challenges of seeking help with minority mental health. So again, thank you all so very much for joining me. I hope you had an amazing time. I heard you. I'm bringing them back. You couldn't see my shirt today, but my shirt says Peachy King, because sometimes we say that we Peachy King and we need some help. So again, get that therapist support and help. Hold on, let me go back to the comments because someone else gave me some information. Yes, Nicole Trailer. She has a master's social work. She's also a licensed social worker. So again, there's her contact information. 302 looks like Delaware, I believe. So again, reach out to her. Awesome. I'm glad you loved it. Sherry said click like and share because the world is in need of this information. You're absolutely right. We need some information, and if it's good information, we should want to hear it. All right, awesome. Thank you all so much. So necessary. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, gentlemen. Everybody that watched, I will keep up the good work, and you keep up the good work by joining me again next week for our Family Connection series. Talk to you later. Love you all for real.